on LinkedIn, and I wanted to reach out to you today and have a conversation with you about digital transformation. And it's been about a week since we've gone live, and I wanted to jump on, and we're going to have some discussion tonight about digital transformation in the airline industry, the airline and MRO industry. And I wanted to invite you to jump in, and we'll have some question and answer time here tonight. And I wanted to focus on digital transformation. I wanted to focus on process reengineering and discussion about implementation of digital within the aviation aerospace industry. So I wanted to give you a second to jump online, and we're going to be monitoring questions and going to be doing a bit of a question and answer time here tonight. So, hey, if I could ask you to share this stream, I would really appreciate it, so we can get some more people online. I see we got people jumping online right now, so I welcome you. And if you got some questions or comments, go ahead and put them into the comment section, the comment box here, and let's have a discussion about digital transformation in the aviation industry. Hey, some of you know who I am and know a little bit about my background and what I've done. But I started out working for the manufacturers, working on the aircraft manufacturers, and it was actually originally in the military side of things. And I immediately started implementing digital solutions many years ago, and it was in the area of manufacturing and manufacturing planning and scheduling. And then I went to work at the airlines and began to manage engineering and technical publications and maintenance training. And I found myself in a situation where it was a challenge. It was a challenge because we had so much work to do, and it was extremely difficult to get everything done that we needed to get done. And so we would struggle and struggle because the volumes of work that we had to do were way more than it was ever possible to get done. And so I began to look at ways that we could potentially implement digital technology to be able to reduce the workloads that we had, and supporting the maintenance of aircraft. And so this was an extremely critical and important time in my life, because it just seemed like there were so many factors in the way which were preventing us, really from being successful. And so it was data that didn't exist, or standards didn't exist. And then we had technology, which really was behind, and it wasn't really meeting all of our needs. And so, hey, listen, we got people jumping online. I see that. And so if you got some questions there, throw questions at me. And we're going to be talking about digital transformation in the aviation aerospace business, aviation aerospace industry. And so, I was working at the airlines, and I had people working for me in engineering and writing task cards and technical publications. And it just seemed like we could really never just get ahead. It was just a struggle. And it was over time that I began to realize that we needed more. We needed better software. We needed to have, better data. We needed to have better technology. And so that's really what drove me to get engaged in digital transformation, many years ago. And then, I have actually done digital implementations at, over 200 airline aerospace companies, MROs, airlines, different companies over the years. And so really I have a lot of background in this area. And now I've gotten to the place in my life where I'm absolutely passionate about digital transformation within the aviation industry. And so, the whole goal of our organization, Digital Aircraft, is really to focus on how do we help people to be successful in the implementation of digital solutions within the aviation industry. And so, the live broadcasts that I do, we want to reach out to people, and we want to help people. And so the point of this discussion here tonight is just to get people online and to begin to talk about digital transformation. So if you got some questions, throw your questions there in the comments, and we'll answer your questions live, because this is a live broadcast. And if you'd help me out, and if you'd share this live broadcast, we want to get more people, to really jump online. But let me talk about digital transformation, really what it really means. A lot of times in the aviation industry, we don't use the words digital transformation. Sometimes we use the words implementation of IT, or or computer solutions, or we talk about paperless operations. And so, but many times in other parts of the world or other industries, they talk about digital transformation, or they talk about digitalization. And so if you're not familiar with the terminology of digital transformation, it's just really the same thing. It's the implementation of IT or implementation of IT solutions, or going into paperless operations, but it's really much more than that. It's the merging of process reengineering, business process reengineering with technology, and leveraging it so that we can improve our businesses. And so within aviation, that's really what we're all about right now, is trying to figure out how to create optimized environments, how to optimize maintenance, how to create environments which are more successful, which are more profitable, and create more revenue through the use of digital technology. All right. And so really, where does it all start from? It starts really, in my opinion, in 4 areas. It's belief, it's people, process, and technology. All right. And let's have a little bit of a discussion about what that really means, about believing in what we do, and the people that are involved, and the processes that are necessary to be able to create digital transformation, and then the technology. And, a lot of times people think that digital transformation is really just about implementation of technology. All right. But really, technology with no business application really has no purpose, has no function. You have to have technology put in place for a business process and put together so that they leverage each other and create optimizations as a result of that. And so that's really what it's all about. It's about finding technology and applying it in the business world and in business environments, in places that we can leverage the technology to improve our business, to be able to create success through digital transformation. Hey, again, if you got some questions, I see we got quite a few people online here right now. If you got some questions, throw your questions in there about digital transformation within the aviation industry. All right. So, I got to the place in my career where we were focusing on operations, and our operations were really struggling. So let's just for a minute, talk about maybe technical publications for a minute. So one of the jobs I had was I was managing task cards and the task card writers at an airline, and I was managing technical publications, and basically the technical writers were adding supplements and service bulletins and all the different types of publications that we needed to be able to support maintenance operations. And they were writing task cards, and they were also writing repair orders, and they were writing shop instructions for the shops. And so the task was, how could we implement technology to be able to optimize that? All right. Now you might think to yourself, well, it's changed a lot over the last few years, and it's really a lot easier right now. But what I'll tell you right now is that all around the world, we have airlines and we have MROs, which are operating off of paper, right? And there's largely paper-based processes where essentially work cards are printed out, where supplements are put into manuals or put into PDF manuals, or repair orders haven't even been created for shop work processes. And so we really find ourselves today in a situation where we're really still struggling in the aviation industry with the implementation of digital technology. And so really what we want to do is we want to focus on how do we help each other to be able to improve that? How do we move forward faster and further? How do we better understand the capability to implement digital technology in the industry? And how can we share knowledge with one another to be able to move forward faster than what we have in the past? All right. So let's take some different scenarios for a minute. All right. And let's take a look at maybe technical publications at an airline. All right. So, many airlines that we operate all kinds of different aircraft. We operate regional jets. We operate Airbus aircraft. We operate Boeing aircraft, Bombardier, Embraer, all across the board. And we operate aircraft which are of vintages that are 20 years old to current modern day technology. And the reality is that over that time frame, the authoring of the publications has really changed over time. And we have technical publications from years ago which are still being authored and maintained in more unstructured kind of formats. And so the end result is that they end up being printed they end up being published in maybe PDF formats. And so for some aircraft, the publications are only available in a PDF, kind of a format. Other aircraft, they might be authored in more structured formats and might be available in XML or in SGML. And so what we really have is we have mixed environments, which we have to deal with. So if you're an author, and if you're creating, updates to publications, if you're managing service bulletins, or if you're updating temporary revisions or supplements, or adding engineering authorizations or engineering orders into publications, you're faced with the challenges of how do you do that. All right. Now, most operations, people are not publishing paper anymore. Most people have gone to electronic publications, but we're still dealing with maybe PDF publication. And so the end result is that we're ending up putting in maybe supplemental pages or temporary revisions or adding pages, into, some people call them, green pages or pink pages or yellow pages, depends upon the operation. And so we're faced with this challenge of managing this content. All right. And so there's a lot of good providers out there today where you can actually start to author your content in the different systems that are available out there. Now, I've worked with a lot of different airlines, and today, even major airlines today, many of them are still authoring these documents in unstructured formats. So they're authoring them in Microsoft Word or authoring them in other authoring tools, which are unstructured. And they end up getting published into a PDF kind of a format, and then merged into the publications or merged into a task card. And so there are tools that are available to you out there today, which can optimize your ability to manage those PDF documents. All right. And so, you can be looking at content management systems. You can be looking at, tools from the manufacturer, or you can be looking at tools from different providers, which give you the ability to be able to author supplements, author engineering orders, author service bulletins, and to be able to input them, into PDF documents. All right. And then to be able to publish those out into work packages, and to be able to use those as part of maintaining of the aircraft and the task cards in the check activity, or going into shops and being able to publish those repair orders. And there's a number of really good different providers out there, and we can have a discussion about different providers at another time. But basically, there are tools out there that are available to you to be able to author and to supplement and to put in to your manuals and into your work packages, digital content. Now, so many operators out there today, really, believe it or not, are still publishing in PDF, or they're printing out the task cards. I've worked with many different MROs where they actually still receive paper task cards from the operator, and they bring them the work deck and say, here, we want this accomplished. All right. Believe it or not, in the day and age that we're in today, people are still delivering paper task cards. All right. And, you can change that. All right. That can change. And one of the things that I've been talking about lately that's really very, very important is that earlier this summer, the FAA, I'm sorry, let's go back. Earlier this summer in June, late June of this year, in the US, the Office of the President issued a directive to all of the federal offices in the United States that they would migrate to electronic records. And so what that meant is that by the end of the year, they actually have to have processes be put in place to be able to now manage in electronic records. And then by the end of 2022, they actually have to have all their records into the National Archives. And so at a federal level, there's an initiative within the US to drive federal agencies to be electronic. Now, why is that important? All right, because just a few weeks ago, about a month and a half ago, the FAA issued new guidelines to their own agencies, their own federal agencies, indicating that they that they should also be moving toward electronic records. All right. And so the important part of this is that now that the FAA is being driven internally to use electronic records, hey, you know exactly what's going to happen. They are going to drive that into all of our own organizations. So all of the MROs and airlines, if you're not using fully electronic processes, listen, people used to think that the FAA, the regulators, were a hindrance to the implementation of digital. But think about it now. Now that they're being required to go digital, this is going to flow down, and they're going to require pretty much everybody that they're working with to be digital. There are no regulatory requirements for you to go digital, but you know that they're going to be asking, hey, we have to do digital. Why aren't you doing digital? Hey, I see we have some new people joining on. If you have any questions, go ahead and jump in and ask some questions. Let's have a dialogue about digital. But the reason I wanted to talk about this is because what's happening is technology is accelerating dramatically. And you look all around you, and people all around you are implementing digital in the aviation industry. And now with the regulators being driven internally within their own organizations to be using digital and to be using electronic records, you know that they're going to drive people that they work with to do digital as well. Hey, I see we have some people joining us from a lot of different places. Hey, welcome. We have Ronnie, and we have Susan Friedenberg. Hey, Susan. And we have Christine Fraux. Welcome. Glad to have you. Hey, if you guys have any questions, jump out, give me your questions, and we'll actually address them live here online. But, one of the things that we really try to encourage and we try to do is I want for people to share their insights and their questions and their knowledge about digital transformation, because one of the concepts, that we have is that synergy really helps us to be successful. Hey, Marcelo, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, let's see. And if it's a new world and it's easy for the millennials. Yeah, I see that. All right. Okay. Yep. Charts and stick and rudder for pilots. Yep. So, hey, listen, the thing is that this is one of the areas that we've moved forward a lot faster is in the flight deck. And so it's really, really pretty amazing. So one of the jobs that I had in the past was actually worked for Jeppesen. And it was pretty amazing how we went from paper charts, right to digital charts so quickly. And then as soon as mobile devices came out and we had iPads, just 5 or 6 years ago, it was amazing on how quickly really the cockpit started to transform and get away from paper. And what's happened is that hasn't completely hit maintenance yet at this point in time. As a matter of fact, we have quite a ways to go yet. Hey, I see we have Dave McKinnon, who just joined, Director of Quality. Hey, welcome. Glad to have you on board. Hey, so one of the things that we're really hoping that can happen is that we can help each other to move forward faster in maintenance and in the cabin and, below the wing and ground operations and really try to move things forward really faster in the aviation industry. And so, hey, if you guys got any questions that are online, jump in and ask, and we'll actually talk about that subject. If you have a subject you'd like to talk about, we'll bring up that subject. But so we know that this can happen is that I've been involved in operational approval in the cockpit and been involved in getting regulators to accept or to buy off on digital and mobile devices in the cockpit. And I've also been involved in helping MROs and airlines to get that implemented in maintenance as well. And so we know these things are moving forward. And so, now that, like I said, now that the regulators are themselves being driven to have fully electronic in their own businesses, in their own internal record keeping, that's going to drive an acceleration. So not only is data getting better, but mobile devices are getting better and software is getting better. All of this is all coming together, and internet, infrastructure is getting better. And then now that we have regulators that are really jumping on board and driving this, we're really going to see a massive acceleration. And so, if you're not implementing digital technology in your business, you really need to think about doing that. You need to think about how can you accelerate what you're doing in the implementation of digital technology. And so one of the things that's really important in doing that is that I've identified what these 4 pillars of digital transformation are. They're believing in what you're doing, all right? People, process, and technology. So let's talk for a minute about what that really means, all right? Is that the projects that I've seen that have been the most successful in the past have been those projects where the management and the people that are involved in the project absolutely believe in what they're doing, all right? You cannot underestimate the power of believing in what you're doing, all right? Because if people go into a project and they say, hey, this might work, maybe it will, maybe it won't, let's just try this out, the probability of success goes down dramatically at that point. If people go into something and say, hey, this is our new way of doing business, and we're committed to this, we're committed to a successful outcome, then the probability of success or of achieving higher success rates goes up dramatically. And so belief is the very first cornerstone of digital transformation. People being committed to what they're doing and believing in what they're doing and having a commitment to a successful outcome. Next, process. We said, people. People is the next one. Is that, one of the reasons that I get people together and having these kind of discussions is because we want for people to have a dialogue, all right? All around us are people that have expertise in digital, all right? And so we all should be looking for mentors around us. We should be looking for people that know digital. We should be looking for vendors that know digital. We should be looking at industry experts that know digital. And we should be looking at people in our own organization that know digital. And so we need to leverage the people that are around us. Hey, listen, forever in time, there's been synergy that happens when people get together and share knowledge, right? People get together and share knowledge on a particular subject. And what happens is it creates greater success and greater synergy and moving forward. And so you need to leverage the people around you. You need to leverage vendor knowledge. You need to leverage people in your industry that know about digital and implementation. You need to leverage forums like this. If you have questions, ask questions in forums like this, learn about the successes that other people have achieved, and don't spend, 30 or 40 years learning how to do this. You don't need to do that. All right. If you look around you and leverage the successes of people around you and learn from those things, then you will be more successful in the implementation of your digital programs. Hey, listen, I tell people this all the time. Today, listen, we have applications, we have infrastructure like YouTube, for example, all right? Is that I do a lot of work on my own cars, or I do work around the house, or I do work on my computers. And the first thing I do when I want to learn something is I go to YouTube, all right? And I say, has anybody done this before? And have they published anything? And I get a jump on what it is that I'm going to do. I don't go out and try to learn everything from scratch. I see if there's any knowledge that I can leverage out there to be able to help me to move forward. You need to be doing the same thing in your business as you're moving forward in the implementation of digital technology, in aviation, is that leverage resources around you, leverage people around you, leverage knowledge around you. That's where we get mentored from. That's where we learn, and it helps us to be more successful. So believing in what we do and leveraging the knowledge of people around us and people that have done this before, people that have gone down the path before, so that we're not trying to recreate this all on our own, are important parts of creating the most success possible in digital transformation. All right. So those are the first two: belief and people. Next is process. So what do I mean by process being a cornerstone of digital transformation? So process is that we need to look at our businesses and we need to say, what are we measuring our businesses by? What are our key performance indicators? What are the things which create the most success in our business? All right. If we're an airline, and if we're looking at maintenance programs, or if we're looking at publications, or if we're looking at the execution of maintenance, what are the key performance indicators? So if we have a morning meeting, and if we're all sitting around the table and we're saying, what is the measure of success in our business? All right, then you should be using those key performance indicators as factors to determine where you should focus your digital technology implementations, all right? Because those are where you're going to get your biggest impact in your business. So one is look where you're going to get the biggest impact in your business. Two is that what would be the easiest things to implement in your business in order to be able to get the biggest return on investment. All right. So as we're looking at process, we want to look at what are we measuring? Where are the easiest things to be able to gain success? And then we want to look at how do we recreate or how do we rethink processes completely to be able to transform our business radically, to be able to go from one place where we are to a completely higher position, and to be able to completely improve our business radically through the implementation of process and enabling it through technology. All right. So those are going to be the harder ones to implement. But basically, we want to look at how do we take work out of the process? How do we optimize the process? How do we rethink the process? And how do we do things completely different than what we're doing today in order to be able to create success? So believing in what you're doing, leveraging the knowledge around you, looking at the place where you're going to make the biggest impact. And when you're looking for the biggest impact, look at where you're evaluating your business. When you measure your business's success, you're looking at your key performance indicators. Look in those areas as the opportunities to be able to create digital transformation. That's likely where you'll find the biggest impact in your business at that point. Next is that we say believing, people, process, and then we come to technology. Now, a lot of times when people are going to implement digital transformation, all right, they think, oh, we have to implement technology. We have to go buy new software, or I have to go buy new hardware, and then we're going to have a successful business, all right? I ask you to rethink that, all right? Because digital transformation is all about process and technology coming together to enable success, all right? We look at our business processes and where we want to be able to create the biggest impact of success. And we look for technology that we can bring into the situation and to be able to create a change in our business through the enabling technology that we can create digital transformation. All right. And so if we go back to the area I was talking about, like maybe technical publications, all right, is that maybe you need to look at new authoring environments. Maybe you need to look at how I can implement an optimized authoring environment, or implement an optimized content management system, or maybe migrate to more structured data. If you already have a content management system in place, all right, maybe you have a lot of unstructured data in there. And the end result is it's difficult to optimize your work execution when you have unstructured data, because you're doing work packages in larger chunks, or maybe your supplemental data is being applied at a chapter level, or at maybe a section level, and not being applied down at the task or subtask level. And when you begin to look at the optimization of work being performed in the hangar, for example, it only can be done when it's done at a more granular level, and you can manage it better, and you can apply changes at that level, and you can adjust resources, or you can apply the skills that you needed at those levels. And so it might be that you need to look at, do I need to implement a more structured authoring in this environment? All the new aircraft that are coming out are authored in XML or in SGML. And the end result is that we have that data available to us at a more granular level in a structured environment. All right. And so that means that we have the opportunity to author changes or implementation of service bulletins or engineering orders or engineering authorizations at that more granular level. And so that might be a place. You might be looking at implementation of structured authoring, or you might be looking at implementation of a content management system, or you might be looking at implementation of planning and execution in maintenance, but you might not be able to optimize that unless you have more structured data. So that's where we need to look at business processes. We need to look at the process and what is it that we're trying to achieve? What success are we trying to achieve? And then looking at what technology can be implemented in order to be able to enable that. Okay. So again, let's go back to what those 4 cornerstones of digital transformation are. The 4 cornerstones are belief, people, processes, and technology. And so I really consider those to be like the 4 legs on a stool, all right, sitting on a stool. is that if any one of those four legs are missing, then the stool is going to tip over, right? And digital transformation is the same way, is that if you want to have successful digital transformation, then all four of those pieces have to exist. People have to believe, people have to engage and be enthusiastic about what they're doing. We have to address the right processes, and we have to not just add to our processes. We need to completely rethink our processes, do things differently, take work out, and leverage technology to be able to create a whole new environment which is optimized and better, not just better than what we did before. If all we're offering is an incremental improvement in something, then all we do is just improve a little bit and a little bit. But digital transformation is all about a whole new opportunity. It's all about moving from where you are to a whole brand new position and creating a new way of doing business, all right? A completely new way of doing business. And so, like, for example, I would consider a completely new way of doing business, like if you're operating all of your maintenance today off of paper task cards, and if you completely move to a totally new environment where you're operating at a more granular level and you're executing work at a more subtask kind of a level, or at the details where you're able to plan that, in more detail, then what you have is a radical change in what you're doing. You've gone from, giving like a stack of, a work card to somebody and say, here, go perform this, to being able to optimize the work in the best possible way with the right people, with the right resources, with the right skill levels, and all those different things, which enable you to create success. That's what I would consider to be, a complete, radical transformation in the way you're doing things. All right. And so one of the challenges that we have then is we have the challenge of where can we make the biggest impact through digital transformation. All right. And so let's just think about this for a minute. Is that I'm just going to say this again one more time. Is that if you look at your business, and if you look at the things that you measure to determine whether you're successful or not, all right, is that maybe you're measuring, the number of task cards that are completed in a day in the hangar, or maybe you're measuring the amount of inspection time, the time it takes, to inspect or to respond to an inspection request, or maybe you're looking at the amount of cards that you close out in a day, or maybe you're looking at the revenue that you create in a day, or maybe if you're in finance, you're looking at the cash flow. All right, and so all these different areas are key performance indicators, or KPIs, that you're using to measure your business. And if you want to find where you're going to be able to create success in your business, where your digital transformation is going to make the biggest impact, all right, then you need to look at the areas that you're measuring and say, is there an opportunity for me to improve in those areas? Now, maybe you don't know exactly what you have to do, all right? Here's one thing that I've tried to explain to people in the past is that if we want to, create a new vision for the future, if we want to create a new digital transformation vision for the future, one of the things that we need to do is we need to gather knowledge from people around us, and we need to repaint the picture of the future. Many times I've described it like a jigsaw puzzle where somebody lost the cover to the box. They lost the cover for the jigsaw puzzle. And we're sitting around and we're trying to put together a puzzle, a digital transformation puzzle, and nobody knows what the picture looks like anymore because nobody knows what it is we're trying to put together. And so one of the important things to do is to repaint a picture of what the future looks like. What do you currently have in place? All right. What are those key performance indicators? What do you need to try to improve? What systems do you have? What systems maybe are old that need to be replaced? What technology is out there that you maybe could reevaluate that could affect your key performance indicators to help you to be able to recreate, a new environment? And so what you're doing is sort of piece by piece, just like an artist, all right, or just like a conductor of an orchestra, you're starting to put together, a symphony, or you're starting to put together a picture of the future, and you're painting it, all right? And don't be overwhelmed by the complexity of it, because what you really need to do is you need to just paint a picture of the future, and you need to, put it out there in the horizon, and then begin to fill in the missing spaces, all right? And don't try to do it all at once. Don't try to bite off the whole piece at one time. Essentially, begin to work on pieces, just like you're putting together a puzzle. Maybe work on the border pieces because they're easier to do, or maybe work on one corner because you're starting to see how this will have a big impact on your business. And if you work on that one corner of that puzzle, then you're able to begin to build it out. All right. But it's really hard to do if you don't know what the future looks like. All right. And so one of the important things to do is to, at least at a high level, is to be able to cast a vision for the future and to be able to create, a picture on the horizon of what your business looks like with, the digital transformation in place. You don't have to have all the details figured out. You don't have to know what all the pieces and components are. You don't have to know all the technology you're going to implement, or you don't have to know all the software that you might implement, or you don't have to know all the change management that has to occur. You just basically have to paint that picture, take a step forward, and begin to move forward in the transformation of your business. Because if you don't move forward, hey, listen, look around you. Look at all the businesses that have gone out of business. All right. If you're not moving forward in digital transformation, look at all the retail stores that are going out of business. Look at the airlines, look at the MROs, and these basically are all businesses that have failed to transform themselves. And so it's really critical because we have an industry which has very, very narrow margins, right? And if we don't transform ourselves, those margins will continue to erode smaller and smaller and smaller, and it will be more and more difficult for us to be successful. And so digital transformation really is a super critical element of success within the aviation industry. All right. And so, you need to be looking at digital transformation. You need to be looking at how you leverage technology to be able to accelerate your business. All right. Hey, I just want you to think for a minute. Just look at this. Look at this broadcast that we're doing right now. It was only just recently. It was only recently that we couldn't even do this. All right. The technology didn't exist to be able to do this kind of broadcast cost effectively. And now you have access to information. You have access to information online. You have access to people. You have access to knowledge. And if you leverage that knowledge, and if you listen to people around you that have done this in the past and have created success in digital transformation, then you'll be able to be more successful in doing that because you'll be able to learn from that. All right. All the greatest minds in the world, they read, they learn, they leverage knowledge of people around them. They leverage mentors. Every one of you, needs to have, 3 to 5 mentors in your life, and saying, who is it that you're following to be able to help you to be successful in creating success in your job situation. All right. And so I challenge you to look around and say, what am I trying to be successful in my job? And what is it I'm trying to accomplish? What are the main areas that are challenges in our business? And who could I be following in order to be able to help me to be able to be more successful in these areas? All right. And if you do that, you will begin to learn from those people and those situations and the knowledge and the experience they have, and it will help you to move forward faster than what you have in the past. Look at many people, they want to do it on their own. All right. And you can do it on your own, but why try to struggle through what everybody else has already struggled through? There's always somebody that's gone through the same path that you've gone through. And so why not look around and look for places where people have already done this and leverage that knowledge to be able to create success? So I challenge you is that, look around for mentors, look around for people that have done this in the past, and ask questions and, gather knowledge, from maybe other companies that have done this, or people, in industry groups, or vendors that have done this, or from broadcasts like this. You need to learn on how to be able to move forward faster, because if we don't move forward faster in this industry, we are going to have difficulty being successful. All right. Hey, aviation is the lifeblood of the world. All right. Is that in the past, ships provided commerce routes and transport, and rail, trains provided, the arteries for success and commerce of countries. And today it's aviation. Yes, those others, trains and boats, ships, they provide commerce as well. But aviation is the lifeblood of success of every country around the world. All right. And in order for us to be successful in aviation, we need to help each other to be able to provide cost-effective, safe, and efficient air transport. All right. And every one of you that are on this broadcast right now are part of the aviation industry, and you're part of contributing to that successful, cost-effective air transportation. And so let's work together. Let's help each other to be successful in digital transformation, and let's share knowledge, and let's help each other to be successful. Hey, listen, throughout the month of November, I'm going to take different subjects and I'm going to do live broadcasts, and I'm going to begin to walk through different digital transformation experiences that I've been through to be able to help those of you who are listening to be successful in doing digital transformation. So we're going to go through some of the things that I've done in the cockpit, in flight operations, and in maintenance, and in planning, and in network, and all the different areas that I've been involved in doing digital transformation. And hopefully, by us sharing knowledge like this, we can help one another that are listening to the broadcast to be able to be successful. And so, keep an eye out for these live broadcasts. And, we didn't get much in the way of questions today, but hey, listen, I want to encourage you, to jump on the live broadcasts and ask questions, because this is a forum where we can actually learn from one another. And so if you have some questions that you want to ask after this broadcast is finished, you can ask questions, and other people that have been watching this maybe after the live broadcast finishes, feel free to jump in and to answer questions. And let's share knowledge with one another. Let's help each other to be successful in digital transformation in the aviation industry. I am absolutely passionate. I'm going to go so far as to say I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with the success of aviation. I've been in it for many, many years, and I want it to continue to be successful. And I want us all to have cost-effective, safe, and efficient air transportation. And each one of you are part of contributing to that success. So let's help one another to be successful, and keep an eye out for these broadcasts and ask questions. And let's be part of helping one another to do digital transformation in this industry. Hey, I want to finish off this broadcast tonight by saying fair winds and following seas to you, and have a great day. And thanks for listening today in this broadcast. And I look forward to our next time when we can do the same thing again. Have a great day. Bye.